Jai Shri Gurudev. Welcome to the third session of Deep Dive Spirituality. So, welcome everyone, the Deep Dive Spirituality. Today we are going to talk about Tri-Bondages. And this is a very important session for all of us because this is what is going to set our direction of the life. Where we are and where we should head to will be discussed today. We'll do a little recap on what we covered last time. So last time we covered about the six dehas, the fall of a soul from the Hansa deha in liberation to the Sthul deha in bondages. We discussed that from Hansa deha we degraded our consciousness to Kaivalya deha, from Kaivalya to Mahakaran, from Mahakaran to Karan, and from Karan to Sukshma, and eventually to Sthul. These are the six dehas of the soul. Sadhguru describes about these. He says that कारण सूक्ष्म स्थूल है यह जड़ तीन शरीर प्रकृति आत्मा योग से धारण होय अधीर. Sadhudev says here that the bottom three bodies out of those six, where we discussed about Karan, Sukshma, and Sthul, these are the body which are made of the inert matters, the inertness, and the other two bodies, the Kaivalya and the Mahakaran body, they are not made of these matters. They are just the illusion state of the purest soul in its conscious form itself. That's what Sadhgurudev is saying in the next doha. He's saying, Prakriti par brahm yukta hai, swasatta nij eh, mahakaran kaivalya hai, yah do chetan de. The Mahakaran body and the Kaivalya body are not any layers of inert matter, but they are just the state of illusion, the state of ignorance of the soul. There was a question in one of the satsang that can you please explain the different levels of Vihangam Yoga meditation with regards to the Sukshma body and the Karan body. And briefly, I spoke about that in that satsang. I said that it doesn't require you to meditate to experience Sukshma body, and that's what is explained here. Sadhguru says in Swarved, Jagrit hai asthul mein, swapna hai sukshma mahi, karan deha sushupti hai, रूप तीन तीन माही. What it means here is you don't need any meditation to experience your sthul body, because with your indriyas you are able to experience your sthul body. What you see in front of the mirror is the sthul body. Similarly, whatever the experience continues when you go into dreaming state, you experience yourself in the dream. And that experience of the self in the dream is of the Sukshma body. So things are still affecting you through the Sukshma body. Everything which is happening in the dream is affecting the Sthul body as well via the Sukshma body. So the swapna or the dream that you get, it happens in the realm of Sukshma body. And when you go into deep sleep, In that state of deep sleep, you experience nothing about yourself, but it's a complete dormant state. And that dormant state of the self is what is the Karan body. So in these three bodies, we have been, revolving around every day. Every day we see our stool body. Every day or someday we dream. So we experience our stool body, the sukshma body in the dream. And then you go into deep sleep when you don't experience either of these, the stool body and the sukshma body. Rather, you go into dormant state, complete dormant state. But in that dormant state, you do not experience your consciousness because you are yet not free from the Karan body. The Karan body is what binds you within the darkness of the creation, and it doesn't allow you to experience your true conscious form that you truly are. So to experience the other bodies, the Mahakaran body, the Kaivalya body, and the pure Hansa body is where the meditation helps. Sadhgurudev, that's what Sadhgurudev is writing here, that normal human being always experience their sthul body, the sukshma body, and the Karan body. What they do not experience is the Mahakaran, Kaivalya, and Hans. Mahakaran is a state which you attain through meditation when you are into the state of Turiya. There is something called Turiya. Turiya state is a yogic state. It is not a normal human being state. When a yogi practices meditation and frees the consciousness from the clutch of the mind and the body, when it attains its own free state, where the light of the soul is experienced, when the self-realization happens, when the Atma Sakshatkar happens, in that state, whatever is experienced as self is the Mahakaran body. So what one experienced the self at the Turiya state, meaning at the first glimpse of your own self, who you truly are, is a state in which one sees the light of the soul, but yet does not know the light of the Paramatma, does not know what the Almighty is. So it is still in illusion state. It is still not knowing the true form of Almighty God. So by the first awakening of the self-consciousness and the self-realization, one experiences Mahakaran body. And when one starts associating the consciousness with the supreme consciousness, which happens in the fifth stage of Vihangam Yoga, when one starts uniting with the Supreme Being, so at that state, when one has not yet attained the samadhist state, rather one is still meditating. In that state, one is experiencing the self and is also experiencing the Almighty God. That state is called Turyatit state. And in that Turyatit state, where the soul starts deriving the bliss property of the Almighty, yet it is able to experience the self and Almighty, and is also experiencing the process of meditation. It is a state of dhyan. It is not the state of samadhi. The Turyatit is a state of dhyan where one is still experiencing the self, still experiencing the Almighty. And then it started deriving the bliss property within itself. In the process, when it finds bliss within themselves, that is when it attains the Kaivalya state. It yet doesn't know what is the Almighty in entirety because it has just started acquiring the property of Almighty. So in that state of Turyatit, one experiences the Kaivalya body. But only when Sadgurudev leads the consciousness further, the sound happens. Sadguru's Vani is received and it says, it's not you. The Almighty is what contains the bliss. So go forward. And when you completely engrossed into the bliss of Almighty, even forgetting the self, when one attains the state of samadhi, that is when the Hansa Deha is achieved. That is the purest state of the soul. This is what is explained in these few couplets of Svarved. We can sense by now that Svarved is the encyclopedia of spirituality. If I am able to speak these concepts, which I do not have experience because I have not gone through the state of samadhi yet. If I'm able to speak anything and with confidence, it is so because I'm speaking it on the basis of the Himalayan yogi's experience, Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj experience, whose speech is the proof for me. Because I know that he proved his experience, he proved his knowledge by also demonstrating a yogic way of liberating from the body. So whatever I am speaking of, I have full conviction on that because I know that the words that I am speaking is from Svarved. And Svarved is not the exercise of buddhi, but Svarved is the expression of experience. Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj had invited disciples on that occasion when he had to leave his body. He wrote letters because it was the time of 1954 when there was no telephone. And if at all there was any, it wasn't in use in that location. I'm not sure whether telephone was there or not at all because it was all through letters. He invited all his disciples, the dear disciples. And then he sat in Yoga Mudra. He started explaining things. And then while speaking itself, he demonstrated the process sitting in Yoga Mudra and left the body. The mouth was closed, but the sound kept coming. People started thinking, Swamiji, where are you speaking from? And then Sadgurudev says, I am speaking from the Akashvani. The speech is coming from the abode of Akshar. It's the Aksharvani. It is not coming from the mouth, but it is coming directly from the Akshar, the abode of Akshar, which is the reason for any speech that we speak out of our mouth. He spoke for 15 minutes from the sky. 15 minutes. And at that time, all the disciples were just blessed to witness this yogic feat, which proves that whatever words Sadhguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj wrote in Swarved, they are all authentic words. They are not any mental or intellectual exercise, but it is the self-experienced words without any illusion, because he could also demonstrate and experiment with what he experiences. So with this faith, we are moving ahead in this deep dive spirituality written by Sadhguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj. We are taking deep into the wisdom of Swarved, and today we are going to understand Tri-Bondages. This is very important concept today, because Tri-Bondages is what we are all caught into, and we need to understand these bondages. Sadhgurudev writes in Swarved, he says, कर्मण की अज्ञान की जड़ चेतन की ग्रंथि बंधन में सब जीव है तीन प्रकार की ग्रंथि. There are three kinds of bondages, three kinds of knots which we are all tied up into. It is something like, a cow or any animal is tied up to a peg. It cannot freely move because it is tied to certain knots. So what are the three knots that is tying we, the purest individual soul, into this world, into this materialistic world? What are the three knots to which we are tied up to? That is what is the subject of Tri-Bondages. Sadhgurudev says, the first and foremost bondage is the bondage of Ajnanata, the bondage of contrary knowledge. The second bondage is the association with Prakriti. The third bondage is the bondage of karma. The contrary knowledge is the root of all bondages. It is because of the contrary knowledge about the self. When we, with great ignorance, consider self as Almighty Himself, we think Aham Brahmasmi, I am God. This is the very root of all the bondages, because the fall of a soul begins with this contrary knowledge about the self. And this contrary knowledge strengthens further when it enters into the creation and acquires the body. What is the contrary knowledge now? Now the contrary knowledge is that we have started perceiving the ephemeral as eternal, the impure and unholy as sacred, sorrow as happiness, and mortal body as self. It is the contrary knowledge. Whatever is ephemeral, we are considering that eternal. Impure and unholy as sacred, and sorrow as happiness, mortal body as self. It's the contrary knowledge. I'll come to the questions. I'll just complete this part. The contrary knowledge. That's what Shloka also says. That says whatever is anitya, meaning not eternal, considering that as nitya. Whatever is ashuchi, which is impure, considering that as shuchi, pure. And whatever is the form of dukkha, considering that as sukha. Whatever is anatma, meaning not the soul. The body is not the soul. Body is not the self. Body is not the soul. Considering this body as the self, the soul, this contrary knowledge is called avidya, the agyanta, the opposite knowledge. And because of these opposite knowledge, we also ignore the need of putting an effort towards dharma and moksha. We are limiting ourselves into only artha and kama. This is the greatest ignorance. Not knowing what is the prime goal of the human life. मानव उत्तम देह को पाकर लक्ष्य न जान, हीन मुख्य उद्देश्य से सो दुख जीवन मान. We are derailed off the main goal of human birth. We do not know why the human birth, why this boon of the human body is granted to us. We do not know that. We are deprived of the main goal of human life. Sadgudev also says, and deprived of the main goal, not knowing the duties of human birth, we also do not know the importance of the Sadguru. जन्म मरण दुख रूप है, दुख में नीच अशांति, सदगुरु विमुख महादुखी, दुख सदगुरु महाभ्रांति. We have doubts on the existence of Sadguru. We do not know what Sadguru is. Where is Sadguru? We do not even search for the Sadguru because we are caught into contrary knowledge. And because of that, we are suffering with the dukkha, the sorrow. The root of all sorrow, all dukkha is nothing but the contrary knowledge. The root of all dukkha is to stay away from the Sadguru, who is here to enlighten us, to give the wisdom to us. So staying away from Sadguru, just because of the contrary knowledge, we think that we ourselves are enough. And this is why the sorrow never ends. All because of the contrary knowledge. So it is important that we understand we need to live in wisdom. So before I talk about it, I would like to take the question because I think Madanji has raised his hand. Yes, Madanji.
Jai Guru. Can everyone can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Jai Gurudev, this is wonderful presentation, and now this is hitting the core of our understanding. Trying to now we're I'm at least trying to connect. Getting connected now to understand the whole thesis. I'm sure there's much more to learn. But my immediate question is the word aham brahmasmi.
Right.
Uh, some Shiva bhakts also say Shivo aham. Now this is prevalent aham brahmasmi. This we have been just told like aham brahmasmi. You as a soul, you are the Brahma yourself. But here it says that that's a vidya or a gyan that you are not you're not Brahma. So this contradiction, can you help us understand? Like generally in Hinduism, uh, every and every sadhu Mahatma will say, Aham Brahmasmi and Mahi Brahmahu. Of course, they are referring to the soul, not to the body. Uh,
Right.
but so, what is the distinction between what is said here versus what
Sure.
you are saying?
Sure.
What
Sure.
is
Very good.
why
Very good
why it
question,
is an
Madan.
agyan? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Very good question, Madanji. Very good question. So our Sadgurudev has described in Swarved that knowledge is at four levels. Knowledge is at four levels. And whichever level you are, for you, that seems the truth. That seems the truth. For example, right now, we are at the level of the body and this Maya. So for us, the soul is not the truth for us because we do not experience it. What we experience right now is the body, and we experience the subject of this materialistic world. So if anybody asks you right now, who are you? Without going through the Vedas, ancient scriptures, or words of saints, without getting these theoretical knowledge, you would not even have an iota of impression about you that you are not the body. You are rather a soul, a spirit inside, right? So this is the knowledge at the level of the body, the indriyas, this maya, this sansar, because we are right here, right now. Then your experience changes the moment you reach at the level of soul. So first knowledge is the knowledge which you are gaining when you are associated with the materialistic world. This is called the knowledge at the level of association of soul with inert creation. That is one level of knowledge. The second level of knowledge is the knowledge which you experience when you attain the Turiya state, meaning the state of self realization. At that point of time, whatever knowledge you thought you are about you when you were in association with the Prakriti, at the Turiya state, you start saying, no, whatever I thought was truth was actually untruth because I am not the body. And at that point, you see yourself as a spiritual light. Then you say, this is what I am. And then when you get into the state of Turiyatit, meaning when you start combining with the Almighty and start deriving the bliss property of Almighty, then you say, oh no, what I thought I was is not correct. I am more than just the light. I am also the bliss. Aham Brahmasmi. So that is the third level of knowledge. At that level, it is the Kaivalya state you are in. And the knowledge that you're getting at that point is more than what you get at a Turiya state. Because in Turiya state, you still do not know anything about the Almighty's property. You do not know anything about how the Akshar Brahm is functional, how the creation is happening, how the dissolution is happening. Those knowledge is hidden from you. But in a state of Turiyatit, you have more knowledge than that. And the bliss is also coming into you. So now your level of knowledge has changed. The person, the soul who is in the Turiya state, for that soul, whatever he experiences at that level is the truth for him. But for a soul which has attained, which is in the process of uniting with Almighty, which is the third level of knowledge, his experience is different. Now, whichever level a yogi reaches, they document their experience. But then our Sadguru Sadafal Deji Maharaj says, There is a fourth level of knowledge. And unless people reaches to that up the state, the purest Hansa state, the complete wisdom is not there in their consciousness. So the fourth level of knowledge is the pure knowledge of the Almighty. It is not the mixed knowledge of self and Almighty. The third level is when the self is there with the Almighty. It is the combination of self and Almighty. That's the third level of knowledge. And the fourth level of knowledge is when you and Almighty become one. You are in Samadhi state, and then you get the complete wisdom of Almighty. And at that state, you do not say Aham Brahmasmi, but you say Brahma Kevalam. There is only Almighty. So you do not say Aham Brahmasmi, but in your experience, what stays is only Almighty. And you just become the Bhokta, the one who get or engrosses into the bliss and is lost into the bliss. That's the fourth stage of knowledge. So based on what level of knowledge a yogi reaches, if their journey stops right then and there, whatever they are writing is not incorrect, because at that level, that is the truth. But the ultimate truth is attained when one reaches the ultimate state of knowledge, which is the Apta state, beyond Turiyatit. So whatever document we read where it says Aham Brahmasmi or Isho Aham, whatever you said, is Shivoham. Shivoham. Those are the words which are the truth at the third level and the second level of knowledge, not the ultimate level of knowledge.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I understand that, but at the mental level, when we are told that okay, so we are already discussing this. You are told that you are a soul, and now at a mental level, you understand that you are truly a soul. This body is only a carrier. Um, you are a soul, and at least you start feeling that you are a soul, but you have not experienced it yet, the form of the soul, like you can experience it once.
Right.
At experience level, you're not there, but at a mental level, you're still thinking you are a soul.
Right.
So, and because when there are many practices prescribed by other forms of meditation and all that, where you're even told to practice uh, reciting, I'm a soul, I'm not this body, I'm a soul, I'm not this body, like Sadguru, the Sadguru, he prescribes this
Right.
for a meditation practice. uh, is there any credence to that, like by just saying that, will it help you to really realize the soul, or that is just a superficial practice?
Very, very apt question, Madanji, because this is what is the subject of karma today. We'll come to that. You will come to know what is the realm of karma and what is the limits of karma. And that is where we'll discuss all these. Very good question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So the first knot we were discussing about is the knot of Ajnanata, the contrary knowledge, where we perceive ephemeral as eternal, impure as sacred, sorrow as happiness, mortal body as self, the soul. This contrary knowledge is driving our life. How is that driving our life? When we say the things are transient, it is not eternal, we still feel attached to it, right? We are not able to develop detachment with the stuff that is transient in nature. So even though in theory, if anybody says that our relationships with any thing or any person is ephemeral. It is not going to stay long. Either the matter itself will vanish or it will change its nature. Yet, in theory, despite in theory understanding that it is ephemeral in nature, yet we feel attached. So, what is that? That is the reflection of ajnanata we are caught into. Even though in theory we understand this is transient, but because we are caught into ajnanta, it is a contrary knowledge which has engulfed our soul, it has eaten up our soul. We are just engulfed into ajnanata. That despite in theory we understand it, but our soul is not accepting it because our soul is in ajnanta. Our soul still asks for it. It is attached. It is feeling attachment towards it. And then there are people who just cherish, the impure things. They safeguard that as if it is something, the bliss of their life. It's all ajnanta. People do not know what is the real holy thing that they should preserve. And they spend life in preserving something which is very unholy. And they cherish it as if it's a pure thing. We spend entire life searching happiness in the transient matter. We think this transient matter which I'm gathering is what is the happiness for me. Whereas the moment that matter or that relationship starts changing or vanishing, it leaves us with nothing but sorrow. So, what we thought was happiness was actually sorrow in disguise. It was a sorrow. Sadgurudev says, दुख में यह संसार है, सुख खोजत अज्ञान, सुख सागर तेरे पास है, सदगुरु शरण पिछान. What you think happiness, what you think is the happiness is actually a sorrow. The happiness is just very inside you. All that is stopping you to tap into the happiness which is inside is that you have not yet surrendered to the Sadguru who can take you there. So considering sorrow as happiness is ajnanta. And whatever length of time I speak about it, in theory you will understand it. But yet, what is the driving factor of our life will decide whether we are tied up to ajnanta or we have started living in wisdom. What decides is the kind of cravings that we develop within us. Are we truly able to go to the workplace, work at office or business, achieve the prosperity, but from inside remain detached? So the complete sacrifice from inside and gathering from outside for the world and for the family, for the society. You are achieving the physical prosperity for the world, to serve the humanity, but you remain detached from inside. Are we able to get to that state? If not, then that is the knot of ajnanata. We are tied up to ajnanata. We are considering those sorrow as happiness, mortal body as self. Such contrary knowledge is what is the reflection of the knot of ajnanata we are tied up to. And because we do not know who we truly are, when we do not know that we are tied up into bondages and there is a need to detach and liberate from these transient world, we do not know about that, And so we limit our life into only artha and kama, just materialistic desires and the materialistic stuff. That's it. We spend our precious human life only around earth and calm because we do not find any significance of dharma and moksha when we are considering ourselves as the materialistic body and the materialistic world as our own world. When we think that this Maya lok is my lok, this is where I belong and this is what I am. When you live in this contrary knowledge, then you find no significance of dharma and moksha. So spending life in such limited perception is what is the knot of ajnanata. And so Sadgurudev says, मानव उत्तम देह को पाकर लक्ष्य न जान हीन मुख्य उद्देश्य से सो दुख जीवन मान. And this is why despite we we do our best to make our life blissful with the physical prosperity, yet from inside we remain unhappy, unsatisfied, because we do not know where the true happiness is. We do not know for what have I got this human birth. It is something like this. The moment you on board a plane or a train on the day when you are supposed to go home, back home on a vacation, the day you on board a train, the bliss of homely, the happiness and surrounding and the family and all, that starts coming to you on the way itself. You're already, already in the drop of happiness. The bliss has already started coming to you the day you start heading towards your home. But if you are lost into the race of life, chasing the materialistic, finding, searching happiness outside, where the happiness is not there, you think this will make me happy, that one will make me happy. You are derailed from the track that lead you to your own abode of bliss. You're going somewhere else in opposite direction. You are deprived of the main goal of human life. That is what is the cause of all the sorrow in life. That is how we are making our life filled with sorrow. That is why it says that's the contrary knowledge. When you're derailed of the main goal of human birth, and when you have doubt on the Sadguru, because it begins only with the faith on Sadguru. Without Sadguru, the journey of bliss, onboarding the train where the drop of happiness starts coming to you, it doesn't happen without faith on Sadguru. So we need to live in wisdom. Know an entity in its true form without any doubt and illusion. जो वस्तु जैसा रहे तैसा वाको जान. Sadgurudev says in Swarved that what is the true knowledge? The true knowledge is to know an entity in its true form. There should not be any illusion, any confusion about the entity in its quality, in its form. The other thing is, living in wisdom is about the art of indulgence with indifference without being affected. You are indulging into materialistic prosperity, you're doing your duty. But from inside, you are living with sacrifice without being attached to it. गृहस्थ त्याग अंतर करे बाहर संग्रह पंथ. You're engrossed, you're into into the mud of world. But just like lotus, you are keeping yourself afloat above the mud. You're not attached to the mud, but you're doing all your duties, achieving physical prosperity for your family, for your society, for your country, for the world, for the needy poors. You don't steal your potential to help others. So you are devoted to that, but you are not attached to that. The art of indulgence with indifference. This is what is living in wisdom. But as I said, it is easier said than done. Because unless we truly experience ourselves, the natural state of detachment does not happen. And so the ancient rishis have given sutra. They said while you're on the path of liberation, you can still maintain the bliss inside. You can still save yourself from the fluctuations of the mind, from the attachments of the subjects, by sticking onto the purity of your thought. So it says, vitark badhane pratipaksha bhavanam. You want to lead your life in the spiritual growth. You want to have faith on Sadguru. You want to sit in meditation with bliss and devotion. And suddenly you start getting doubt on Sadguru's power. So suddenly some materialistic things start attracting you. What to do at that point? We are about to fall into the trap of Maya. What to do at that point of time? Should we allow ourselves to fall down into the trap of Maya or do something about it? And do in such a way that we do not have to suffer. If the desires is burning inside and you're stopping yourself, you're suffering. The desire has to change. So the sutra is vitarka badhane, when the opposite thing, meaning something which is not in favor of your spiritual journey, when that starts creating obstacle for you, when the unwanted thoughts, unwanted vices, virtues create obstacles in your path of spiritual upliftment, you create the favorable thought, pratipaksha bhavanam. You create the thoughts which will be in favor of your spiritual upliftment. So you repeat your sankalp at that point of time. Repeat or remember the glory of Sadguru. Remember how Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj left his body at will and showed that what he knew was the real experience. He truly knew the art of liberation. Repeat that bhav in your mind. Remember some Sadguru's memory. If you have heard several other sevaks of Sadguru speaking about any sansamaran, any memory, remember that and know that, oh, Sadguru is actually watching me every time, all the time. Because he did that with so and so disciple. They shared me about it. So bring up those favorable thoughts. The moment you bring up those favorable thought in you, you have to make your own lines. What will inspire you for the spiritual upliftment? You have to keep those lines handy. Either it could be your pledge. No, I have taken a pledge that no matter what, I will not come into the trap of Maya anymore. I have taken a pledge. No matter what, I will meditate twice daily. So these are the pratipaksha bhavanam. something which will inspire you towards the spiritual life and will keep you inspired, because it will change your vrittis itself. The moment these bhavana, these thoughts you create within you, your state of chitta will change. The desire itself will change. And so you do not suffer, but you are back to the blissful state of spiritual journey. This is what is living in wisdom. You don't allow yourself to become prey of tricks of mind. No more. You want to control mind, not the mind should control you. No. Okay, the next one is I think I approved, so this caught me here. Ah, I approved a notation, so this got stuck here. Okay. Okay. So that is the first knot, the contrary knowledge. The second knot is the association with Prakriti. We have forgotten our own form, right? We do not know who we are. We only hear about it that we are a soul, but we do not know. What we take pride on is I am thin, I am thick, I'm fat, I am tall, I am short, I am rich, I am poor. So we have forgotten our true form. We are defining our own self in terms of materialistic body and the materialistic subjects. Why? Because we have a strong knot of the Prakriti. We are now caught up into Prakriti. For us, this Prakriti has become our world. We are completely associated with the Prakriti. This is the second knot. Whereas we used to be in an abode where there was no Prakriti. It was only the bliss and the consciousness. But we have forgotten that, and now we are in the trap of the creation, in the trap of the subject. This is what is the second knot, the Jada Chetan Granthi. It is called Jada Chetan Granthi, meaning the conscious soul is now totally lost into the materialistic world. It is dependent now on the physical faculties, on the indriyas, on the mind, on the intellect, on the chitta, on the ahankar. It has just forgotten its own self. All it can contemplate about is the materialistic thing. Within our mind, we are not able to even get the thought of consciousness because we are in the strong bondage with the materialistic subject and materialistic world. This is called Jada Chetan Granthi. The Chetan Atma, the conscious soul, has lost into Jada Sansar. निज स्वरूप को भूलिकर करे देह अभिमान, चेतनत्व विस्मरण में जड़ वश बंधन मान. जीव निज चेतन स्वरूप को भूलकर देह का अभिमान कर जड़ प्रकृति के वश में हो गया है. So this is the second knot, the association with Prakriti. And now is the main third knot, the strongest knot. कर्मन की, अज्ञान की, जड़ चेतन की ग्रंथि, बंधन में सब जीव हैं तीन प्रकार की ग्रंथि. In that, the third one is karma, the bondage of karma. Today, Every moment we are performing karma. Every moment. And Sadhgurudev says that people do not understand that the bhakti, the devotion, is a different entity. It's a different thing. And karma is altogether a different thing. Everything that we do today is in the realm of karma. We are not doing any devotion because we do not know the level of devotion where the devotion happens. We are in the realm of karma. कर्म ही जीव ले आया कर्म ही जीव ले जाए कर्म के बांधा ई जगत कर्म के कीच नहाए. We are in the mud of karma. So what is karma? It needs to be understood. What is the true definition of karma? This is what is exactly explained in this doha. Sadhgurudev says, चेष्टा आत्म की चले बहती प्रकृति आधार कायिक वाचिक मानसिक कर्म है तीन प्रकार. Let's understand this more fundamentally. Literally, Sadhgurudev saying here that the soul has its consciousness, which is supposed to flow towards the Almighty, which is called Urdhva Pravah, the upward flow. But if it is flowing downward, outward, by the use of the mind, by the use of the speech, or by the use of the indriyas, when the soul is in the state of ignorance, when it is in the state of dependencies, the state of dependencies means the state that you are in right now. For everything we are dependent on the body, on the indriyas, on the mind. Without mind and indriyas, we are handicapped because we have no hold of our own self. So when we flow our energy outward to the outward world by the use of our body, by the use of our mind, by the use of our speech, in the state of ignorance, then in this outward flow, whatever activity you do, in this outward flow, whatever activity you do, whether you are chanting the name of Almighty, it is still called karma. It is still called karma. But there are certain special set of karma which will lead you into the state of bhakti. So we'll come to that. Now, to understand this karma more fundamentally, so there is a soul and there is consciousness of the soul. If the soul does not have hold of the consciousness, if it is just dependent on the mind and indriyas for all the effort it makes, in that state of dependencies, whatever effort the soul makes, it is all karma. But when soul acquires its own self-realized state, then all the actions happens in the light of the soul. Then it doesn't happen in the slavery state of the mind. Right now we are in the slavery. It is mind that makes any action. It is through mind that we are making any action because we are dependent. We just do not know ourselves. We are in the state of ignorance. So as long as we are in the state of ignorance, as long as we are dependent on the mind and the indriyas, all we are doing is the outward flow of our consciousness, because mind and indriyas are capable of only outward flow. Mind and indriyas in the state of ignorance is only capable of outward flow because our indriyas are bahirmukh. It is opening its mouth outward right now. Our eyes are opening outward, our ears are opening outward, our tongues are outward, our nose are outward. So our indriyas are outward, our mind are outward. It can contemplate only about the outward subjects. And this is why in this state of dependencies, our consciousness is flowing outward. And that is why all the effort in such state of ignorance is not a devotion, but karma. It is karma. And what is the result of karma? The result of karma is life and death. जन्म मरण का योनि है मूल कारण संसार सर्व सृष्टि प्राणी बंधे यह तत्व कर्म विचार. The karma is the cause of bondage. Karma is never the cause of liberation. Karma is the cause of bondage. There is a different thing, a different set of actions which does not fall into the ordinary karma, which we'll talk later. That is what will lead you to devotion. That is different thing. But these ordinary karma is never going to lead you to liberation because that is what is the cause of janam and maran. That is what is the cause of sukha and dukha. Sadgudev says, Dukh Sukh Jano Karma Se, Karma Rav Arurank, Varnashram Yah Karma Hai, Neech Unch Bhram Ank. See, Sadgudev has used a word called Bhram. Why so? You do certain actions in this world and you get happiness. And that's what keeps us in illusion. And we remain in the trap of karma. We think, oh, this is what I have to do the entire life. Because if I do this, I get happiness. And then suddenly some other actions that you have done in the past, if Ishwar starts giving fruits of our bad actions from the past, then all these illusions go away because then we face sorrow in our life. Despite we are doing good thing right now, despite we are doing good actions right now, we still suffer. So searching happiness in karma is a state of illusion because the sukha and dukha that you get out of karma is not the real bliss that you are searching, but that is just the fruits of your actions, just the fruits which will vanish because all fruits of actions are just limited to the quantity which entitles to your karma. Whatever karma you have done, you are entitled to gain the bhoga of those karma. So the sukha and dukha is a trap. And one who does not understand this trap, they just remain in the cycle of sukha and dukha and always remain into caught into this cycle of life and death in ignorance. So ordinary karma it simply means to remain in the state of ignorance and doing your best to make your life better without making any inward journey. So when you don't make any inward journey and you spend entire life with whatever effort to make the best experience of your life, it is all karma. It is all karma because all your effort is outward. You're making only outward effort. So all such outward effort is nothing but ordinary karma. And in that state, you will remain caught into the cycle of life and death. Today you are in human, tomorrow you'll be an insect, you could be something else, because we did not prepare for the inward journey. Sadhgurudev says further, मुक्ति ईश की प्राप्ति जो कर्मण से नहीं होय, कर्म करे फिर तन धरे भोग विविध विधि सोय. So through such outward actional effort of the soul, through such outward flow of consciousness, which is the synonym of karma, through such outward flow of consciousness, which is karma, one will never realize the bliss of Almighty, nor the soul will liberate from the cycle of life and death. Through karma, you only head towards the next body. This body ends and you lead towards another body and another body and another body. You may be feeling most luxurious or comfortable in the human body, but this is very temporary, because you don't know for how many lakhs of births you will not return in the human body. This is what needs to be understood. For God knows how many births you will be caught into other species, not this human species. This is with great fortune we are here. But if we spend this entire human life without making an inward journey, then the destination is fixed. It is the cycle of life and death and bondage, nothing else. It's never going to be the liberation or the God realization. So karma leads only to bondages, never to realization of Lord or liberation. So before I talk about the other state of soul, where the karma ends and vikarma begins, and when the vikarma ends and akarma begins. Before I touch upon these three different levels of effort of the soul, I can take questions at this point.
Vijayji, there are so many questions actually on the chat window. If you can maybe address one by one.
Sure. Okay, so how do I go to, oh, here, right, in this chat. Yes, so, now I hope this question doesn't need explanation. What is karma? Is it just day-to-day action? Yes, that is also a karma, day-to-day actions, our daily duties, all those things are karma. Anything which is not an effort of inward flow. When you reverse the flow of consciousness inward, when you reverse the direction of consciousness, that is when you are not doing karma. When your consciousness is outward, going towards the materialistic subject, or any statue of God also, which is materialistic in shape, you are contemplating about the materialistic form of Almighty. Even that is also karma. That is also karma. So where does karma reside? Karma is accumulated, but where is the account of accumulation or reduction of karma? Okay. So whatever actions we are making, they are all captured in our chitta. So chitta is one of the four inner organs. We have mind, meaning man, buddhi, chit, and ahankar. So chitta is the store of karma, and on the basis of that account of karma which is there in chitta, we are getting prarabdha and getting the next body. So whatever is stored in chitta if you don't get the fruits of those stored karma in this life, they are carried forward as sanchit karma. But if you get the fruits within the same life, they just vanish as kriyaman karma. So you did the actions, it was then resulted, it actually converted into fruits. So those are called kriyaman, meaning they are active, they don't need to be stored. You did karma, you got the fruits, they don't get stored. But what gets stored, it is called accumulated sanchit karma, accumulated karma, and they are carried forward from one body to another body. So it is the chitta which is the store of karma.
So,
Right.
this is Bhandari here again. Um,
Yes.
uh, Earlier in one of the shloka, it said like kachik, kaik, vachik, manasik,
Right.
three types of karma. That
Yes.
is karma with your kaya, with your body,
Right.
karma with your vachan, your speaking, your speech,
Right.
karma manasik with mental.
Right.
Karma can be created by thought
Yes.
or by speech. Now, the thought can be good or bad, a deed can be good or bad, and kaya, body, can also take good or bad action.
Right.
So, does both type of actions, good or bad,
Right.
do they create karma?
Yes. Very good question, Madanji. You are always right on the point. You're very focused. So that is what is called shubh and ashubh karma, right?
Mhm,
That is what is called Shukla and Krishna karma, the Shubh and Ashubh karma. So,
mhm,
Shubh or Ashubh karma is what is giving you the sorrow and the happiness. The happiness you get out of your karma is all because of those Shubh karma, good actions.
mhm,
And the sorrow that you get out of karma is all because of bad actions, bad karma.
mhm,
So they all are just still within the realm of this materialistic bondages. Meaning, whatever good or bad actions you're doing, they are still keeping the knot of karma tight and tying the soul in the materialistic world. Because even for getting the good fruits of your actions, you have to remain in the materialistic world. And that is why, whether good or bad, karma is always the cause of bondage. Karma is always the cause of next life. And think like this, let's say you did some good actions which led you to come into the human life. But prarabdh, prarabdh, which is the subset of your accumulated karma, prarabdh is what decides the destined bhoga of your future life. That is mixed. That is not always made of Shubh karma alone. That is always mixed. So, whatever Shubh karma got you into human life, you should feel blessed that you did some good karma. Because of that, you are back to the human life. But coming to human life is not end of suffering. Coming to human life is just the opportunity to end the suffering. It is not the end of suffering, it is the opportunity to end the suffering. Because in this human life, you are also destined to face some challenges, some sorrow in life because of the prarabdha, because of the current kriyaman karma as well. The reason is we are in the state of ignorance and we are enslaved by the mind, by the cravings of the mind. So, mind keeps us engaged in some bad deeds as well. Despite we controlling our mind, there are bad thoughts that come into our mind. And the moment any bad thoughts come into our mind, that's the bad action. That's recorded in your chitta. And there is no escape. There is no replacement. Each karma has its fruits. You cannot replace your bad actions with good actions. It's not replaceable. And that is why, despite being the father of Lord Rama, Dashrath had to suffer the separation from the son like Lakshman. Despite being the father of Lord Rama, he had to suffer. Think about it. If Dashrath could not save himself from his action, who are we to think that you can take care of this bondage all by yourself? No, the karma bondage is so strong that it is impossible for us to get out of this clutch. The karma bondage is something which you cannot break all by yourself, cannot break. It is beyond our power. It is something like you have fallen into the mud of karma. And when you are in the mud of karma, you alone can never come out of mud all by yourself. You always need support which can pull you from the mud. Otherwise, more you put effort, more you go deep into mud. That is the nature of the mud. So karma is of that types. We do all the effort all by ourselves without understanding the need of Sadguru. We think that I can meditate myself, I can control my mind myself, and you put an effort. You put an effort, but there is no inward flow. When you sit in meditation, all materialistic thoughts are coming. You are still constantly engaged into outward flow of consciousness only. You think that you are controlling your mind, you are relaxing yourself. Those are just the physical change, those are just the mental change, but not the change in the state of karma. You are still caught into the creation of karma and karma alone. So there is no way that you can separate yourself from the clutch of karma, from the cycle of life and death. This is where the need of a Sadguru comes into picture.
But
Yeah. Mhm.
there's a follow-up question here.
Mhm.
So, if you are if your sorrow and happiness are the result of your karma,
Mhm.
as you create karma, you it results in um, happiness or sorrow. That means you're using that karma like a bank balance. You put money into it, and either it results in happiness or sorrow. So then, why it is all accumulated and goes from life to life? Why can't you, you have all the karma, either you're suffering or you're feeling happy, you are utilizing the karma. And at some point of time, once you understand that this is the cause for happiness or sorrow, happiness nobody minds, but when you know that it is a cause for sorrow as well, and you still your mind, you stop the thought process, which is the reason. Mental activity is one of the reason for the karma. Then bodily activity, so you decide that okay, I'm not going to do anything bodily harmful to anybody. Then you decide that by speech I'm not going to hurt anybody. So you're deciding your mind to be neutral, not getting involved in good or bad thought process. You're deciding that today onwards your speech will be good for
Okay.
everyone, like nothing negative. And
Okay.
then bodily you don't do, then
Yeah.
why there would be karma?
Yeah. So Madan, I'll quickly take this question because we have 2 minutes left. So I just give you one example. You are saying you decide, right? Because you have repeatedly used this term that I decide to not have bad thought. I decide to not. So I give you one experiment to do, and that will make it very clear. I ask you to decide that you wake up in Brahm Muhurt and meditate. Okay. So you make a decision that yes, from tomorrow onwards, I will sleep in time and wake up in time and meditate every day, no matter what. And see how many days you are able to stick to this decision. Mood.
Just as
Yeah.
an information, I've been doing it already for last couple of weeks. I'm waking up in the Brahma Muhurta, and yeah, the timing is not consistent. It's between 3:30 and 5:30.
Right,
Uh,
right, right.
but
It
I've
is
been doing it already. But I can also decide to be only at a certain point of time. Yeah, that can be
right,
done.
right, right. Yeah, yeah. No,
I don't
thanks.
claim that I have that willpower to
Right, right, right.
and obviously it's with the practice, as
Yeah.
you understand, as you experience that, there's a great benefit to it. You
Right,
automatically now I don't have to put an alarm, like, I'm
right, right.
really waking up at exact time.
Yeah.
um and then I'm feeling that I don't even have to force myself. I just
No,
want to.
it's a good news, Madanji. I'm very happy to hear that.
Okay.
And yeah, the point that I was raising is that we think that we are the controller of everything about our current situation. But eventually, it will happen that things will go out of your control because we have not attained that state yet. And through karma, we will never attain that state. That is the point I'm trying to make here. You will come into, maybe today it's the situation is favorable, so you are able to do it. But situation will not be always favorable. Your mind will be impacted by certain news, certain incidents, certain things, certain results of your past actions. Maybe right now you are in good actions, but the day the certain actions that was destined to give you the bad outcomes come into play, our state of mind will change. So Sadgudev says, Mana Chanik Vairagle, Chade Utunga Akash, Turat Rag में गिरत है सदगुण जीव विनाश. Because we are enslaved of the mind.
Very
We are
true.
we are enslaved of the mind. Right now, we think that I am the controller of the mind. No, it is just the Chanik Vairag. Chanik Vairag. The moment the subjects will come in front of you, it will show its weakness. And then you'll fall prey to raga because raga has not left us. So all I'm trying to say is we are not self-sufficient. We think that we can do everything to liberate ourselves, to get out of it. No, it doesn't happen. We are enslaved of the mind. So mind will get us do good or bad. We can never be free from the ill play of the mind all by ourselves. This is where the other levels of the conscious effort of the soul come into picture, which is called vikarm and akarm, which I'll discuss tomorrow. It's very very good topic, which we all must attend tomorrow, 3 o'clock. um, Unfortunately, it's the end of time, so we'll wrap it up, and we'll request all of you to stay back for 2 minutes for the prayer of peace, and we'll meet again tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I
Vijay,
request.
just quick request. I know if the time is over.
Yeah.
This today's presentation, will you be able to send it so that we can review and you know
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
also the doha that you just quoted
Yeah.
about the property
Yeah.
of
Yeah. Sure.
getting
Sure.
back to Raga. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So I request Isha ji to please sing the prayer of peace for us.
शांति पाठ। हे प्रभु शांति स्वरूप हो, शांति शांति मैं शांति, शांति शांति जन शांति हो, पूर्ण शांति मैं शांति। हे प्रभु शांति प्रदान कर, दूर हो सर्व शांति। देव सदा फले शांतिमय, शांति शांति सुख शांति। बोले सद्गुरुदेव भगवान की जय।
Jai. Jai Sukhdev. So see you all tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Jai Sadgudev.
Yes.
Yeah,